Hello everyone, today we're going to talk about the controversy between the new Herr der Ringe, Lord of the Rings show from Amazon and the changes they did to certain races inside the story. Coming from a point where I'm just a casual fan of the films. I haven't read the book yet. I like to watch lore videos on YouTube, but that's by no means knowing everything that's written in the book, so I don't claim to know that. This is just putting out my personal opinion when it comes to changing the work of someone else that you had no hand in. I love storytelling, I love creating characters myself, I love creating stories myself. It's a very enjoyable process, and world building is a lot of effort, but it is also a lot of fun. And I think a lot of the problems here is that people who don't create themselves, don't create characters themselves, but only copy and edit, readjust, they don't actually understand how connected you feel to your characters. Like, they feel like family because you spend so much time developing them, thinking about every aspect. Where did they come from? Where were they born? Who are their parents? Where are they heading to? What mistakes will they make? You have to get into the head of the characters. So it's not just a fantasy world where you can do anything that you want, especially not with Tolkien. His books are very well known for having almost details to an absurd level. The world is so well built that you could almost look at it like an historical piece of art. Like, oh, this all could have happened, who knows? It's well written to that extent. So to touch upon that and have the audacity to say I'm going to readjust it and not to respect the main message of the books or the main intention behind the books, but to put your own intentions and ideas into it, I don't think that's a good thing to do. I find that quite rude, if I'm being honest. Like, when I write a story and I have certain beliefs, I don't want other people to come in and then say, well, we like the foundation, but we're going to insert this and this. Like, no, fuck off. That's my story. Those are my characters. They are like family. I have written them out. I have written this word in an exact way. I have thought everything through. You can't add anything. And that's the case with Tolkien, really. You can't add anything to the books because he has put his efforts and his love really into the story, his passion. So you adjusting one tiny bit is already pulling on a loose thread, and then the whole thread's coming undone. Because you can't do that. It's all very knitted together. If you change one thing, you would have to change the whole thing, because he has written the story as a whole. But you're not going to do that because that would require effort and, sorry, but a lot of passion that nowadays people don't have, sadly, when it comes to creating characters. So at that point, why aren't you making your own fantasy world? If you want to change everything about someone else's world, why you're trying to take their creativity away instead of using your own creativity to build a world? And the other example that I would love to put out here, even if you're not an anime fan, but there is an anime called Dororo. And it was made by the first mangaka, really the godfather of mangakas if you want, Tezuka Osamu. Very well known for Astro Boy, Blackjack and the White Lion. A lot of people might know because they copied a lot of the animation of that anime. But he is very well known because he actually studied medicine, and it comes up quite a bit in his manga stories, especially with Blackjack in Underground Doctor without certification. And they are very interesting. But when it comes to Dororo, one of his many works, what Dororo shows, the basic story arc is a poor baby was ripped of all of his organs and his limbs. He was just a corpse, but somehow he survived through his will to live, and he lost all of that because his father wanted to protect his country and made a pact with the devil. And then they sent the baby away thinking he would die anyways, but he didn't. Throughout the story, he tries to reclaim all of the things that were taken from him from the devil, and by that the protection of the land of the father suddenly crumbles and the land falls back into poverty. So the question throughout the whole anime is, am I not allowed to live? Why should I die so other people can live? And it's a really emotional story because you have people who are very sad, who love him, but they can't sacrifice all of the people of the country just so he can live. And it's a very touching story. I highly recommend it. I also recommend it to those people who keep saying, oh, animes, they only have weak female characters who are only there for sex appeal. It's one misunderstanding that a lot of people have because they don't get that there are genres in animes. And of course, if you watch a harem, of course it will be sexual. But that's a completely different point. So it was first aired in 1969 and then it was remade in 2019. And the reason why I say remade instead of adapted is because there were huge changes to the storyline and to the way the main character suffers. However, all of those changes weren't trying to adapt it to a new time and make it more relevant. No, they were done to more so emotionally represent the message behind the story and represent the pain of the character. They were tools to push forward and focus more onto a message that Osamu had in his stories. So really, Dororo is an example of a respectful remake. I think the most respectful remake because it was done beautifully and it kept in mind the message that it should put out. The philosophical message of the life of one against those of many, and also a lot of war-related topics, as Tezuka Osamu is famously known for being anti-war, but at the same time not just saying blindly, oh, war is bad, but going deeper into the matter in all of his stories, like also in Blackjack, when the unlicensed doctor goes around countries and you get to see quite a bit what he personally thinks about war itself. Now in this remake in 2019 of Dororo, the people would have said, you know what? War is nice. We're going to push pro-war propaganda into this. Then that would be really, really disrespectful to what Osamu believed in, when he was strictly pushing an idea against that. Or really not against it, it's hard to explain. It's not like he's just saying war is bad. He is showing people who fight in wars and having good reasons for doing so, but it's not really the idea of, oh, you shouldn't fight for yourself or you shouldn't protect things by fighting, but it is more that in the end it will cause a lot of pain and suffering that maybe could have been avoided. So it's not even really anti-war message that he puts in there, but just the foolishness of people which lead to war. And if you replace that with now pro-war things in a new adaptation, then that first of all wouldn't be an adaptation, because adaptation would mean that you take one thing and just put it into a different form, but you keep all the original content. You are not adapting the books of Lord of the Rings, you are remaking them because you are changing time frames in this new show. So first of all, it's a remake, and second of all, again, you can't just change some of the ideas the original author had because they don't fit with what you think. You might be even right to criticize them. I'm not critiquing anything about that, like not saying one idea is better than the other, but I'm critiquing the act, really. The act itself to change someone's work just because you don't like certain aspects of it, but you like other aspects of it. At that point, I think you are obliged to just write your own story, to maybe even look at why you dislike that or explain throughout your own story, indirectly or directly, however you want, why such a story as the one you're critiquing isn't right, but create something yourself. I mean, I don't understand why that's such a hard concept to get nowadays with a lot of creators, not with fans of one thing or another thing. I really don't mind that. Fans like whatever they like, that's their respective choice to do so. But I am upset with a lot of creators who have the chance to create something special, create a lot of unique, interesting worlds, but we don't really get them in the West. And that's very unfortunate, I think. Like, I came up in years where anime was very much an outcast thing. People didn't really know about it, and the people who knew about it was like comic geeks in their time when they got bullied in school and stuff like that. And now anime is flourishing, and I think a huge part of that is because there is a lot of respect for the world they are creating. Of course, again, not every anime, but a lot of animes that are taught and a lot of mangas that people say are legendary, they are amazing, they are the foundation of what peak anime and manga can be, like Berserk. Like, there are certain stories that people really, really respect because those stories take themselves seriously. They take their funny parts serious, trying to really bring in humor and also their darker parts, trying to build a world that is believable and that people on a human base can relate to. And in the West, you sadly have the opposite, where people build a very shallow world where you are supposed to relate to people just because they might look like you in certain aspects, or they might want to fuck the same thing as you. And that's very shallow in my opinion, and it's very insulting to their target audience. I would probably be a target audience of them, but I don't feel really targeted by that. I feel insulted that you think I am supposed to like someone because they have female parts, or they are of this race or of this belief system. No, that's not how it works. A lot of the characters that I like are male, and they come in all shapes and sizes and colors. It doesn't really matter. So yeah, this is really my whole opinion, trying to sum it up about this whole controversy, because I think it does all link back together to this main idea of stop trying to push an ideology when it's so obvious that you don't care about the world. You can put your own ideas and your own theories into a story, of course, but always try to also flesh out the characters. Don't give us shadow people and think, oh, that's enough. Like, no, race and sexuality aren't character tropes. We need more than that. And in this case, on top of that laziness of creators, you also have the fact that they are changing something of an author who has sadly already passed and can't defend his own work, and they are changing certain things to make it fit their own narrative. I find that very disrespectful. I don't know how the end product will be, obviously, since the show hasn't streamed yet, and I will happily give it a shot and try to watch it, but I don't know. I don't have a lot of faith with a lot of Western media nowadays, since it always ends up in a certain way, just like Game of Thrones, just like The Witcher, sadly. But yeah, just my 2 cents. I hope this video was enjoyable for you, and yeah, see you later. Bye bye.